Since ancient times, humans have been deeply fearful of supernatural entities believed to reside in an unseen realm. Demons in particular have figured prominently in this perception, being seen as the executors of evil. In Judeo-Christian beliefs, hell is depicted as a domain of eternal punishment for those who have sinned. Described as an abyss of flames and brimstone, this place is destined for those who face perpetual suffering. During the 16th century, Peter Binsfeld, a leading theologian and demonology expert from Germany, proposed a classification of demons that corresponded to the 7 deadly sins. This innovative categorization captured the imagination of many and has been widely adopted in various works of fiction and literature. According to Binsfeld, the 7 princes of hell are Lucifer, the prince of pride, Mammon, the prince of greed, Leviathan, the prince of envy, Beelzebub, the prince of gluttony, Satan, the prince of wrath, the prince of lust, Belphegor, the prince of sloth. This categorization emphasizes the notion that demons are manifestations of the darkest aspects of the human being. The 7 deadly sins are seen as failures that can lead to spiritual ruin, highlighting the danger inherent in indulging in these vices. These princes of hell, in the Judeo-Christian context, are not only feared figures but also representations of the consequences of giving in to impulses that can deteriorate the soul. At the center of hell, surrounded by the flames of eternal fire, resides the ruler of demons, the prince of pride, Lucifer. As complex as he is fascinating, this character crosses diverse cultures with varied interpretations and origins. In the Christian tradition, especially in the Bible, Lucifer is a fallen angel, expelled from heaven for rebelling against God. His story, marked by pride and rebellion, has been intermingled with elements from other cultures, enriching his legend. Although shrouded in mystery, Lucifer's figure in the Bible is one of the most intriguing. In the book of Isaiah, he is described as a star falling from the sky, an image many interpret as a metaphor for his fall from divine favor. This biblical description has been the subject of numerous interpretations over the centuries, fueling debate between those who see him as a historical entity and those who consider him a myth. Beyond Christianity, in Greek mythology, Lucifer is associated with Apollo, the sun god, known for his arrogance and dazzling beauty. This association underscores Lucifer's duality as an entity of both light and darkness. In Roman mythology, his figure is intertwined with Vulcan, the god of fire and forging, adding layers of creation and destruction to his character. In literature and art, the image of Lucifer has been one of continual fascination. He is portrayed as an attractive and seductive being, an entity that embodies temptation itself. In his Divine Comedy, Dante presents him as a giant with 3 heads, each crowned, a representation that combines terror and fascination. This description by Dante is just one example of how the figure of Lucifer has captured the imagination of artists and writers throughout history. Mammon, recognized as the prince of greed, emerged from ancient Mesopotamia, where he was revered as a deity of commerce and wealth. This worship spread beyond its origins, permeating Jewish and Christian beliefs. In these traditions, the figure of Mammon was transformed from a god to a representative of greed and excess. He was represented as an imposing being with the characteristics of a bull and a human. His eyes reflected greed, and his face showed a deceitful smile. The coins and jewels he carried were a constant temptation for weak hearts. In the Bible, specifically in the New Testament, Jesus warns against greed and devotion to money. In Matthew 6 verse 24, it is mentioned, "No one can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will cleave to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and Mammon." In this context, Mammon represents wealth and materialism, highlighting the choice between the spiritual and the material. This teaching ties in with the story of a young man of the same name in an ancient era. This Mammon, of humble origin, was noted for his intelligence and his burning desire to accumulate wealth. Mammon's life changed when an older man offered him a pact, immense riches in exchange for his soul. Blinded by his ambition, Mammon agreed. Becoming a man of great power, Mammon plunged into a world of cruelty and exploitation, losing his humanity in the process. Upon reuniting with the older man, the truth of his fate was revealed: eternal suffering for having valued the material more than the essential. Although Mammon repented, it was too late to change his destiny. Asmodeus, a fallen angel who rebelled against God, transformed his heavenly existence into that of a powerful demon. Condemned for his rebellion, he dedicated himself to sowing discord and corruption among mortals. His rich and multifaceted history spans various cultures and religious texts, making him a complex and enigmatic figure. In the biblical context, Asmodeus appears prominently in the Book of Tobit, an Old Testament apocryphal text. Asmodeus is the demon responsible for the death of the 7 husbands of Sarah, the daughter of Raguel. Tobias, with the help of the archangel Raphael, manages to defeat Asmodeus and marries Sarah, freeing her from his evil influence. In addition, Asmodeus is mentioned in the Book of Kings. Here, it is narrated that he was one of the demons who tempted King Solomon. Despite these temptations, Solomon, assisted by divinity, resisted Asmodeus and maintained his wisdom. In the Talmud, the central literature of Rabbinic Judaism, Asmodeus is described as a being of great power capable of causing catastrophes in the mortal world. He is credited with destroying the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, events that highlight his capacity for destruction and chaos. He is known as Asmodeva in Persian mythology, a demon of anger, discord, and destruction. Meanwhile, in Arabic mythology, he is identified as Ashmedai, a demon associated with lust, rage, and revenge. In art and literature, Asmodeus has been portrayed in various ways. At times, he appears cruel and ruthless. At other times, he is shown as a more complex and ambivalent entity. His origin returns to heaven, where he was once a beautiful and powerful angel. Driven by jealousy toward humans and a deep desire to be like them, Asmodeus confronted God and was expelled from paradise. In hell, he became an influential demon, manipulating mortals into lust, anger, and revenge, causing strife and destruction. Leviathan, an imposing and mysterious figure, emerges as a formidable sea creature in ancient scriptures and myths. His story begins in the pages of the Hebrew Bible, specifically in the Book of Job, the Psalms, and the Book of Isaiah, where he is described as a powerful and feared creature that dwells in the depths of the sea. In the Book of Job 41, Leviathan is described in great detail, representing a challenge to any human being who tries to dominate him. He is presented as an immense and invincible beast with hard scales and a breath that seems to set the air on fire. This biblical description highlights its formidable nature and the almost reverential respect it inspires. Psalm 74 verse 14 and Isaiah 27 verse 1 also mention Leviathan, although more symbolically, representing chaos and the primordial force that opposes the divine order. In these references, Leviathan is often seen as a manifestation of challenges or enemies that must be overcome. Outside the Judeo-Christian tradition, Leviathan has been linked to various sea legends and myths in different cultures. In some traditions, it is assimilated to similar creatures. One of them is the Kraken of Scandinavian mythology. This gigantic sea beast terrorized sailors and symbolized the unknown terrors of the ocean. In other cultures, such as in certain Near Eastern myths, Leviathan resembles a dragon or sea serpent, a creature representing chaos and forces of nature beyond human control. These depictions vary, but all maintain the idea of Leviathan as a being of great power and mystery, often associated with the sea and its unfathomable secrets. Over the centuries, the figure of Leviathan has evolved, becoming a popular subject in literature, art, and folklore. His image has been reinterpreted in multiple ways, from a terrifying beast to a symbol of the uncontrollable forces of nature. At the beginning of time, there was an angel named Beelzebub. He was beautiful and powerful, but his arrogance and ambition led him down a dark path. Desiring to be the most powerful of the angels, Beelzebub began plotting a coup against God, gathering a group of disgruntled angels around him. Together, they rebelled against heaven, triggering a long and bloody war between the rebellious angels and those loyal to God. In the end, the faithful angels won, and Beelzebub, along with his followers, was expelled from heaven, falling into hell and transforming into demons. Beelzebub proclaimed himself the lord of the flies in hell, becoming one of the most powerful and feared demons. His cruelty and ruthlessness were notorious. Delighting in the pain and suffering of others, Beelzebub became a master of manipulation and seduction, capable of corrupting even the most virtuous of humans. Beelzebub's presence is also widespread in sacred texts. In the Bible, he is mentioned in several books. In the book of Tobit, he is known as Asmodeus, the demon who possesses Sarah, Raguel's daughter. In the book of Kings, he is mentioned as the god of the Moabites. In the book of Ezekiel, he is known as the god of the city of Tyre. In addition, Beelzebub figures prominently in literature, such as in John Milton's Paradise Lost, a 17th-century epic poem. Beelzebub is one of the foremost leaders of the angels' rebellion against God. In Book I, he defends the rebellion, arguing that God is a tyrant. In Book II, he receives Satan with honors in hell, proclaiming him leader of the demons. Finally, in Book IV, Beelzebub and Satan plot the fall of man, suggesting that Satan seduced Eve. The story of Beelzebub, from his fall from heaven to his reign in hell, is a tale of ambition, rebellion, and transformation. This tale has influenced culture, art, and literature throughout the centuries. At the beginning of time, an angel named Luzbel was noted for his beauty and power but was marked by boundless arrogance and ambition. His desire for power was so great that he aspired to be the most powerful among the angels. This ambition led him to conceive a coup d'etat against God, attracting to his cause a group of disgruntled angels. Thus, a rebellion against heaven was unleashed, giving rise to a long and bloody war between the rebellious angels and those loyal to God. Finally, the faithful angels prevailed, and Luzbel and his followers were expelled from heaven. The fall of Luzbel and his angels transformed them into demons. In hell, Luzbel took the name of Satan, the adversary, becoming one of the most influential and feared beings. His nature became cruel and merciless, finding pleasure in the pain and suffering of others. Possessing a unique manipulation and seduction ability, he could corrupt even the most virtuous humans. Satan, now in his role as adversary, appears in various sacred texts. In the Bible, his first appearance is in the book of Genesis, where he tempts Adam and Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. In the book of Isaiah, he is represented as the angel who incites David to commit adultery with Bathsheba. In the New Testament, he becomes Jesus' antagonist, constantly challenging his mission and purpose. In extra-biblical texts such as the Talmud and the Book of Enoch, the story of Luzbel is further expanded. In the Talmud, he is mentioned as an angel rebelling against God. The Book of Enoch describes him as a being who seduced the female angels, inciting them to rebellion. In the Christian tradition, Satan is seen as the main adversary of both God and humanity. His role as leader of the demons positions him as the force opposed to the divine, intending to tempt humans to turn away from God and fall into sin. At the beginning of time, there was an angel named Belphegor, beautiful and powerful but marked by remarkable laziness and unbridled ambition. His desire to delegate his work to others and his aspiration to be the most potent angel led him down a path of rebellion. He gathered angels dissatisfied with his situation around him, and together they rose against heaven. This revolt triggered an extensive and brutal war. Ultimately, the angels loyal to God triumphed, and Belphegor and his followers were banished from heaven. In hell, Belphegor assumed the title of Prince of Sloth, becoming one of the most powerful and feared demons. He delighted in inflicting pain and suffering, and his ability to manipulate and seduce was unmatched, corrupting the most virtuous humans into laziness and dishonesty. The origin of Belphegor is traced to Jewish tradition, where he was known as Baal-peor, a Moabite god worshipped in a shrine on the mountain of Peor. This name was corrupted over time, giving rise to Belphegor. In the Bible, he is mentioned in the book of Numbers, where the Israelites, influenced by the Moabites, began to worship Baal-peor, which provoked a divine plague. In Greek mythology, Belphegor is identified with Panos, the god of hard work and suffering. In contrast, in Roman mythology, he is associated with Asmodeus, the god of inaction. He is compared to Namtar, the god of sickness and death in Mesopotamian mythology. In literature, the The figure of Belphegor has been explored in works such as John Milton's Paradise Lost, where he is presented as one of the leaders of the angelic rebellion, and in Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's Faust, where he appears as a demon offering a diabolical pact. Thus, Belphegor, from its origins in ancient Jewish tradition to its representation in classical literature, has remained a symbol of laziness, greed, and dishonesty, reflecting his figure's various interpretations and transformations through different cultures and eras. The seven princes of hell, incarnations of the deadly sins, are entities of immense power. Their stories illustrate the constant battle between good and evil, a central aspect of human nature. These figures are complex and compelling beings whose stories have been the subject of varied interpretations over the centuries, evidencing their powerful influence on human culture and thought.